Awesome. Well, welcome, everybody. I want to thank the thousands of people in the room and the millions watching online right now who spend their Tuesday evening with us instead of going to the happy hours. Really quickly, Ryan Thomas. I've been with AWS a little over 5 years, he, him. I run our partner organization that goes to market with our what we call regulated industries. So that covers auto, financial services, telco, healthcare, and life sciences.
And my name is Derek Seymour. I also run a set of industry partner teams. My pronouns are he, him. And those partner teams include energy, media and entertainment, retail, consumer packaged goods, travel and hospitality, and more. And we'll be talking about some of those examples today as we take you through the journey that we have undergone as AWS in industry and how we work together with our partners to help transform customers' business. The thing that we have learned working together with our customers and our partners is that the customers want us to speak their language, not come to them just with the technology offerings, but also map it to how they think about their business and the value that we collectively can bring to their business. So what we will do today is take you through some examples of how we are organized and some of the partners that we've worked with so that together we can meet the customers on their terms. We'll start by talking about how AWS is organized, give you a little context on why industry in the first place, and then take you through some examples from our software partners, from industry specialist partners who are growing their business on AWS, and consulting or systems integration partners who are similarly growing their business to speak to an industry perspective. So I'm going to hand it over to Ryan to give you a little more industry context.
So you all took time out of your Tuesday evening, as I said, to spend with us on industry and how we go to market by industry, getting to our customers' biggest needs. But if you're still asking yourself, why is this important? We know the market is going this way, or at least we think the market is going this way. The idea of industry cloud platforms has become a big topic for cloud providers, a big topic for a lot of the technology ecosystem, our consulting partners, our tech partners, and so on. And the question is, what does that mean? What is an industry cloud platform? Is that SaaS? Is that MSP? Yet to be determined, but what we know is it means talking to our customers in the language that they want to be spoken to. Our healthcare customers want to talk about patients. Our financial services customers want to talk about meeting a new generation of digital banking on their cell phones, where they are, how they want to be talked to. And we know that each one of these industries has unique data management and different regulatory needs that they need to meet. We're going to talk about that today. This journey really started for us about 2 years ago. And if you think about that in the bigger context of where the cloud market is and where the technology ecosystem is, we're probably behind. 2 years ago, we shifted from being, quite frankly, the world's greatest provider of technology Lego blocks for our customers to put together and build their solutions, their platforms, their own outcomes, to pivoting and going to market and selling industry outcomes, solutions that meet our customers where they are, and delivering the outcomes that they need for their industry specific to their industries and specific to what their customers want. This means different things based on who you are, and I see a lot of the lanyards from partners, so I'm keen to talk to some of you after the session. But from a technology partner, this might mean, who do you need to integrate with? If you're in the insurance ecosystem, do you need to talk to Guidewire? Do you need to talk to Verisk? Do you need data providers? Do you need catastrophic modeling providers that provide weather data and changing climate patterns? If you're a specialist partner, developing the key integrations and APIs for your customers to have a holistic transformation and modernization practice inside of their environment. And finally, to our consulting partners in the room, how do you streamline all of this? How do you put it together to meet your customers and differentiate yourselves? One consulting partner looking very different, going to sell the same thing, selling different outcomes and doing that in a very streamlined way. Your turn.
We've already named some of the industries that Ryan and my teams work on. Across AWS, we have a focus on 15 major industry verticals, and within that, the sub-verticals that customers map themselves to. So for each of these industries, we have a story that we tell to customers about how AWS and its partners can meet their business needs. We translate their world into technology solutions. So this is the first step that we've taken in telling a unified story. And if you have an opportunity after this session or over the coming days, within the expo environment, there's an industry pavilion, which is set up with many, not all of these industries, and you'll get a flavor from there of some of the AWS native services as well as partner offerings that are underneath some of these offerings. What I want to speak more about is how we are organized to address those key industries that we just talked about. And there's 3 pillars that we follow, and again, we'll illustrate this through partner examples. Firstly, having industry expertise and knowledge and credibility is very important to those customers, speaking their language as we've been talking about, and coming to them with a depth understanding of how their business works. Secondly, bringing to those customers tailored, specialized solutions that meet their business needs. And since not every customer is the same, that needs to be a portfolio. That needs to be a range of offerings, from addressing companies that are relatively early in their cloud journey to some that are already more sophisticated, to some that are local or regional. Global multinationals may have a different need. Language, different technologies, different offerings, all of these come into play, meaning that there's no single offering that will work for every single customer. So collectively, we take a portfolio approach. And then thirdly, to make sure that our customers are aware of what we collectively bring, we go to them into the places where they are familiar, and again, speak their language, use the terminology about how they run their business. And when we talk about language, Ryan already gave some examples, but if you think of a retailer, they're not interested necessarily in the innards working of how the technology works. They want to know, can you help them acquire new customers? Can you help them reduce their inventory costs, reduce shrinkage, increase lifetime value? A media company wants to know about subscriber additions. A manufacturer wants to know about operational efficiency, defects, and so on. So these are just some examples of the types of business metrics that our customers want their technology solutions to address and form part of how we go to market to them. So on the next slide, Ryan's going to start talking about some examples of this from our software partners.
Thanks. We certainly don't want to imply that we have all the answers, because we don't. The permutations across millions of customers, across thousands of partners, across the several hundred services that we provide at AWS, we can't solve all of that, and that's why we need our partners' help. But we can tell some of the stories that we've done this year and in previous years, and kind of give a vision for what that looks like and some of the successes that have come out of it. I'm sure we're all familiar with Snowflake. In 2020, we launched an industry-aligned go-to-market partnership with Snowflake, focused around developing industry solutions, meaning the specific industries that you see on the right side of this around what does it mean to have a financial services data warehouse on AWS with Snowflake, what are the outcomes that we can deliver for our customers and in turn for their customers, and so on for healthcare, media and entertainment, telco, retail, and public sector. We've looked really hard at deepening product integrations. Specific to Snowflake, Snowflake evolves their solution, their data warehousing on our Graviton processors. Just this year, moving to the latest Graviton processor, they increased their customers' performance by 10% without their customers having to do anything. And having that deep integration with our partners really serves our customers, and in this case, the customers didn't even know. They suddenly just had a 10% performance increase earlier this year with really no action and no additional cost to them. Sales collaboration is obviously what we're all here for. We have a huge sales team. The sales teams of our partners are orders of magnitude bigger. And aligning by region, by customer type, by product type, and understanding the specific needs of our customers and how we can deliver better together is really important. And we've done that with Snowflake, which I'll show the results of that in just a second. And all of this, the sum of all of this, is the ability for us to expand our marketing strategies, having very custom marketing campaigns that we can go after certain industry segments, certain customers, certain geographies, and target that. The result of this, since 2020, where we had one of our biggest partnerships with Snowflake, we've grown 5x since then. And this is a very repeatable process that we love to do with our customers, going with them by industry, by solution type, and targeting the right customers with the right solutions to deliver the outcomes that they want. Derek's going to take you through our specialized partners.
Thank you. One of the three groups that we want to speak to are those industry specialists that already are deeply embedded with the customer's business. Maybe they already work closely with that account, and they have built intellectual property and technical assets over time that really do tackle those key business metrics that I referred to. We don't need to teach that company the basics of those industries. They know it much better than we do. So what our partnership represents is a way that that company can then grow their business together with AWS. We want to be the best technology provider to them and to their customer, and also the best partner to support them in their growth. We'll just give one example today. VTEX. VTEX is a company originally developed and headquartered in Brazil, but now with a global footprint. They are a provider of e-commerce solutions to retail and consumer packaged goods companies. And I'm happy to talk about them today because they were our 2023 Industry Partner of the Year award winner for retail. So it's a very successful partnership. One example of many that VTEX has successfully deployed is with the company Whirlpool. Whirlpool is a over 111-year-old company. You may or may not know the name, depending on where you're from in the world. They have 50 operations in 50 countries and manage 10 brands. So you might know them under the brands of Janair, Maytag, Indesit, and others that they run. And their uniqueness as a company across that entire global footprint and that brand footprint is that they consider themselves very customer-centric, and they run their entire operations from product design to sourcing to manufacturing to sales to after-sales service of their customers, of their appliances. And that gives them a keen understanding of their customers' needs and a keen sense of how they can improve that service level to their customers. However, with that level of a global footprint, Whirlpool, in their journey to modernize their technology, identified that e-commerce was one of the big areas of growth, and they worked with VTEX as a specialist to deploy the VTEX commerce platform to over 30 countries around the world. VTEX running on AWS, a composable architecture that took advantage of the scale that we have to enable Whirlpool to deploy and quickly adapt to changing conditions over the last few years within their business. They've seen an improvement in the online customer experience. They've seen increase in revenue, a reduction in costs, and Whirlpool continues to further iterate upon their usage of AWS services. Now, this is a great example where the customer and the partner and AWS come together. A company that is heavily invested in AWS and the use of microservices, cloud-first API technologies, and VTEX that builds their modular applications on AWS, and it was a natural fit. VTEX, as a partner of ours, has further extended their business together with us globally, using our partner programs, taking advantage of some of the go-to-market support that we have, as well as by making available their applications through the AWS marketplace. And that helps remove some of the complexities of currency and contracts and procurement from their customers while allowing them to focus on what they do best, which is addressing their customer needs. And we'll speak a little bit more in a moment about AWS Marketplace. The third partner type we want to speak about are consulting companies, systems integrators. We work with many thousands of them, and Many, of course, have a natural affinity to a technology-centered conversation with customers. The business is often about addressing a very hands-on technical question with an appropriate solution. In an industry context, again, we're thinking, how can we convert the customer's business need into a technology answer efficiently, but without overwhelming them with jargon and technical words? So we'll just take, again, one example today. NLX is a small company founded very recently in 2018, and the founders recognized at that time that the customer service experience that perhaps we as consumers get from the companies that we do business with was relatively poor. From online, from call centers, breaks in the continuity of information. And so they founded their company just 5 years ago with the goal of improving customer experience for enterprises. They developed together with AWS a tool they call Conversations by NLX. And it's a platform running on multiple AWS services that allows for seamless customer support across multiple channels. I tried out the demo today. It's very impressive. You can look it up online to be able to have a phone call with an agent or an automated agent through the voice while navigating a web or app interface simultaneously. A little thing happened about 3 years ago, the COVID pandemic, and that threw customer service completely off all of the predicted needs. And NLX, in hindsight, was positioned very correctly at that time to be able to address the customer needs. It was the right answer at the right moment. One example of how they succeeded was with an airline, Copa Airlines, which is an international airline headquartered in Panama. And at the peak of the pandemic, when tens of thousands of customers were furiously trying to cancel their bookings and rebook to get home or deal with travel restrictions, airline websites mostly were able to handle that peak load. Customer service teams were not. They were staffed to be able to handle 1,000 calls a day, give or take. They were suddenly a spike of 50,000 over the course of a single day. So what we did, and what NLX did, more importantly, is work to deploy their solution for customer service into Copa, and they completed that within 2 weeks, 14 days, which was a remarkable achievement. And Copa was able to make it through that very tough period and realize a very good experience for their customers in spite of those constraints. Now, you may think, well, that was 3 years ago, the pandemic has waned. The reality in the airline industry, as in many parts of hospitality, is that economic conditions have not returned to the pre-pandemic era, and in particular, customer service has not returned to the staffing that it was previously. So many companies across many industries continue to be pressured by this secular trend and of not having sufficient staff to deal with the spikes and not being able to retain those staff when there are other opportunities available. So for companies like NLX, this combination of their industry expertise, the technology that they built, in this case for airlines, but also applicable in hotels, retail, or other industries, is the right technology to address a very important need that that customer of theirs has. So they are positioned very, very nicely to take advantage of that. We're going to switch now to a much more mature industry in terms of cloud adoption, and Ryan will take you through that.
Thanks, Derek. You might be thinking, as Derek said, I can't predict a pandemic, or I'm not Snowflake and I don't have the scale to disrupt. Let's talk about some of our smaller partners and how they have disrupted. I'm going to go into core banking in just a moment. But again, I want to reiterate the permutation of having millions of customers, hundreds of services, different philosophies, different geographies. The EU regulation is very different than the resiliency requirements of Australia, very different than the monetary fund requirements of Southeast Asia, very different than the LATAM requirements and so on. And so that's where we need expertise by industry, by geography, of working together. Two of our partners that have literally created new revenue streams, one, Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, you would not think of as a technology partner to AWS, came to us and said, hey, we're already selling our data. It's a very heavy lift. How do we do that on AWS without the hundreds of hours or thousands of hours of technical support it takes for us to sell market data into other banks and then support that on an ongoing basis? Last year, Goldman Sachs launched the AWS Data Exchange, streamlined their data processing and analytics sales to over 2,000 customers, very rapidly growing and moving into a whole new revenue stream with almost no support because it runs entirely in an automated fashion on AWS. Similarly, Toyota came to us and said, hey, well, it didn't come to us, they came to Infosys and said, how do we think about building a whole new robust software development lifecycle on AWS and reinventing the way we go to market with our software and eventually get to a point where we can build that logic upfront and get software into our cars much faster. Infosys worked with them to build a whole new whole new lake warehouse and streamline that process. In the digital banking world, GFT, a small consulting firm, said, wouldn't it be really cool if we could disrupt the world's largest banks from inside? Wouldn't it be cool if we could give them a way to disrupt themselves without huge capital costs, without really having to migrate a lot of their own technology? And they're a small consulting firm, and they said, well, we can't do that ourselves. So they reached out to a fairly small core banking ISV partner, Thought Machine, and said, what would it look like if we built a lightweight solution for large banks to disrupt themselves? Instead of moving the entire bank into the cloud and spending tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in years to do this, what if we built a digital bank within the large bank and tried to onboard new customers, millennials, whatever we want to call them, who only want to do their banking on their phone where they are and not at a physical brick and mortar building? The outcome of this, several huge wins. The first one that really made headlines was Mox. Mox is a digital bank inside of Standard Chartered, where Standard Chartered had very little CapEx. As they built a pre-deployed Bank-Lite, a lightweight module built between GFT and Thought Machine, the customer only paid as they onboarded new customers. So if it's a complete failure, it costs Standard Chartered almost nothing. In the case of Mox, 30,000 new customers in the first month. 30,000 net new customers, banking customers that they didn't have, that were now onboarding accounts on their cell phone, on their web browsers. 150,000 in the first 6 months. Low cost, high scalability, and really didn't impact their CapEx until their customer base grew, and they were able to win together. I want to get into some of the permutations of how complex this is and why Derek and I are up here kind of asking for help and working and looking for more folks to do this with. If we think about the complexity of digital banking and where it's going, and based on what Gartner or any of your analyst reports say, we're probably somewhere in the range of 5 to 10% penetration that's moved into the cloud and 5 to 10% that's actually digitized itself. One trend we see is augmenting the core. Certainly, a lot of the banks that you guys work with have huge investments in their existing infrastructure and aren't able to necessarily move all of that into the cloud or disrupt it or build new or buy a new product. The Development Bank of Singapore, DBS, great example of having a heavy core, but we're able to move it to the cloud with the help of one of our partners, and then build all of the abstraction layers between their core and all of their peripheral services. Open that up into a sandbox and onboard over 150 partners and allow them to develop on their actual core banking systems. 50 of those partners plugged into APIs in the first year, and now have accelerated the innovation and accelerated the DBS team's productivity without really having to invest in them. Their partners come in, they can deploy their products in their environment in sandboxes, and DBS can run their tests, their CI/CD pipeline on top of that. One that we probably think of a lot is migrating the core. We have a significant investment. We have a lot of APIs. We have a lot of connectivities, a lot of interoperability that we can't disrupt. What does that look like? Spanish Open Bank, they wanted to migrate their systems to AWS. They're a subsidiary of Santander and really unable to take any risk. They already had 1.3 million customers, and they wanted to do that in a very safe, secure, compliant way without disrupting all of the controls that they'd already built in for EU regulation and the various regulatory bodies across UKI. One of our partners worked with Open Bank, and within 6 months, able to migrate all of their mission-critical data lakes onto AWS, including their general ledger, including their loans accounts, and get all of the benefit of moving to the cloud without actually disrupting the technology or the legacy interoperability that they have with other customers, other banks. Time Bank, South Africa's first digital bank, worked with several of our partners and migrated their mission-critical microservices, really starting with their payment service to become the first payment service in South Africa that was in the cloud, onboarded 115,000 customers per month using 900 kiosks across South Africa. Literally putting kiosks out into the streets, letting people open up bank accounts, and then having digital banking at their fingertips, again, on their mobile phones, at their web browsers, where they wanted it. And what we like to see, replacing the core. Where we have banking customers that are willing to make the full dive into cloud native, either in a hop or we saw Ital do this, big news announced last year at reInvent. Global Payments did it this year. And Global Payments, cloud-based issuer, allows financial institutions of all sizes to really seamlessly operate the full life cycle of the card issuance and management on their platform. They replaced their systems, built net new with a partner, and we're able to migrate their core and build a new core modernized on the AWS platform. Today, they're operating over 30 billion transactions a year and growing at exponential paces. So what does this mean for you? Every industry has this picture. This is core banking. We have it for insurance. We have it for capital markets. We have it for energy. We have all of the pieces and the complexity, not just of our own services, the 200, 300 services that get plugged into banking, but all of the pieces that our banking customers need to realistically migrate or modernize on AWS or modernize the digital banking platform. You can think of any permutation of these, of how you're going to do KYC, how you're going to do fraud, how you're going to think differently about loan origination, or how you're going to service customers in Europe versus Australia versus the various countries in Southeast Asia. This is where the opportunity is, and it's just getting going. It's just getting started. And last night, Derek mentioned our industry awards, Guidewire in the insurance space, Financial Services Partner of the Year. Guidewire came to us this year and said, it's great. It's great that we're winning all this. It's great that we're growing. It's great that we're all in on AWS and insurance insurance carriers are running on us. But what we really need is the integration of the picture that looks like this. Who are the data providers or the insurance space that can help us do better ratings, better pricing, better P&C sales, better cross-selling to our insurance customers? And this is the picture that we need to get to for all of our industries, and looking to our partners to do this. I'm going to turn it back over to Derek. He's going to talk about very specifically how we do that.
Thank you. So we talked about industry expertise and knowledge. We talked about industry-specific or tailored offerings. And then the third pillar, you might recall, is how do we tell our customers what we're doing and what value we can provide? How can we show up where they are so that they are aware of what offerings we have and how we can help them? So I'll talk a little bit about how we think about customer engagement in industry and industry-centered customer engagement. There are a couple of major steps that we have taken in our journey to generate more awareness about what we offer and what our partners offer, and we'll take you through a couple of examples of those today. First of those is you may be familiar with the AWS Solutions Library. If not, take an opportunity sometime this week to go to aws.amazon.com/solutions. And that will take you into an area that sets out across a range of industries and across a range of technology domains, a portfolio of offerings from AWS and from our partners. So right there within our premier web property, we have a location where we are combining what we bring together with what our partners bring. And importantly, this is structured in the way that the customer would expect. It's set up by industry, by use case, by key workload, and then within that, again, the portfolio of offerings from multiple partners along with AWS services. That's one example. Second example is where we explicitly go out, as you do if you're working with customers in this industry, into places where customers are looking and actively seeking solutions. So be that events where we have an industry presence. Each of the major industries that we spoke about has one or two either global or major regional events over the course of the year where decision makers come together to learn about new technologies from a range of technology vendors. And we have a major presence at each of those events. And if you have ever the occasion to be at the NAB conference for media and entertainment, or HIMSS if you're in healthcare, or in Hannover Messe if you're in manufacturing, you'll see our presence is very inclusive of our partners. We tell an overall story, but we have our software and our technology partners deeply integrated into our story. So we want to give equal coverage to that and to show to our customers that collectively we bring the set of offerings that can address their varied business needs. Of course, here we're at reInvent. I mentioned the industry pavilion in the expo, which is one specific place where we bring partner and AWS offerings together. But reInvent in total is our learning event for customers and partners to come together. So it's an opportunity also for us to show to our industry customers how we can help them. Publications, print media, online media, those are traditional channels that we very much participate in and leverage. And we do thought leadership, we do articles, we do interviews. We want to show up again in those places where our decision makers are looking for information. So that could be industry-specific channels. I have some examples here of blog posts or articles, as well as the overarching story that we tell AWS for particular industry. So if it's AWS for energy, AWS for media and entertainment, AWS for financial services, those are ways in which we bring together all of our customer and partner assets and make those available to customers. So if you're partnering with us today, you may be familiar with how we participate in these events, media, and places where decision makers are showing up. If you're interested in partnering with us, please come and talk with us afterwards, and we're happy to plug you into some of the campaigns and initiatives that we work on. So what does this look like then for you if you want to participate, grow, and build your business together with AWS? Simple structure is how we think about this, building upon different foundations. So at the lowest level on the diagram, our partner network. We have tens of thousands of companies that we work together with. That may sound like a lot, and it is, but recognize the breadth and depth of AWS services, the number of industries we are in, the number of customers that we have. It is a very extensive set of companies and partners, and we're very proud of that. And it's one of the key things that our customers look for, is that we have that large and extensive partner network. So if you're not already a partner and you're interested in building your business together with us, AWS Partner Network is the place to start. On top of that, as you participate in the partner network, you can share with us information about your offerings, what you uniquely bring and differentiate. And we can post that and make that available in a search site that's called the Partner Solutions Finder. Similarly, AWS Marketplace. We talked a little bit about VTEX earlier, the e-commerce provider, growing their business together with Marketplace. Marketplace has thousands of companies with tens of thousands of offerings grouped by domain, by industry, by technology, in curated pages, again, for customers to be able to discover, and more importantly, transact online and to buy either software offerings or consulting offerings from our partners. So it's really a valuable place for your offering to be available so customers can discover and find it. Solutions library we mentioned about. That goes further by tying your offerings into specific use cases. Again, back to the key performance indicators that customers are looking for and thinking about in their language. And then finally, the structure that we run that gives the greatest level of attention to our most dedicated partners, we refer to as the competency or specializations. And that's a stringent set of programs that we run for each of those industries, where the partners both demonstrate their success and depth of capability, as well as then work with us tightly on campaign execution. So we prioritize working with competency partners in generating awareness of their business. And the endorsement that we provide to those partners that they have worked with us and have demonstrated success is part of the value that our customers want from us to be able to make recommendations to them. So as you grow your business, gaining and building that competency, that endorsement, is an important step. The partners that we've talked about today are competency partners. VTEX is a retail competency partner, NLX, travel and hospitality, and so on. I'll just quickly show you what Marketplace looks like, just a sampling of some of the companies that we work with on a sampling of those industries. And again, these are companies that have their own intellectual property, but work with us to post that and make that available to Marketplace, not as a replacement for any other channel, but as a supplementary place where customers can go and find information and even purchase right there and then. The specialization programs we've already talked about, for us, it's the pinnacle and one of the toughest designations that we provide. But we reward partners that go through those steps by providing benefits and value for our partnership together. And again, that level of endorsement and a high bar that we set is something that our customers value when they are looking for technology companies to work with. So we'll go back again to part of where we started. By now, I hope you've seen through some of these examples the value of an industry focus, why that's important, how we think about this and how some of our partners are already thinking about this, bringing the expertise, building purpose-built or tailored solutions, and then showing up to customers in the places where they are making decisions together. And we want to, again, bring it back to where we started. What we're here for is a customer-focused way of going to market and bringing our offerings together into a way that helps the customer business decision maker understand how we can help their business. Not a product-centric approach from AWS outwards, though we do plenty of that. But we also, in an industry context, work strongly backwards from our customers and providing them a set of offers that give them confidence that together we can meet their business needs. So our final statement to you and to us collectively as partners, let's meet customers on their terms, together as partners, together addressing those key business needs. With that, that's the end of our presentation. Thank you very much. We'd love to take questions from anyone that has them from the audience.